Hello and welcome to our show, the University of Florida, St. Lucie County Cooperative Extension. Here to tell you all about what we do at the University of Florida locally in St. Lucie County. We have programs covering a number of subject areas from community resource development to horticulture to citrus and fruit crops, all the way to 4-H and our youth programs. But here today, we're going to talk about some of our natural resource programs. One in particular is of interest to me, and it's sea turtles. And I have my colleague, Joe Scarola. We don't actually work for the same people, but we're on the same working group. And Joe Scarola works with Ecological Associates, and we're going to talk about St. Lucie County's sea turtle-friendly beaches and basically what happens during sea turtle nesting season, which is a large portion of the year here in St. Lucie County. A little bit about our beaches. St. Lucie County has obviously long, abundant beaches, a lot of shoreline, 21 miles actually. 1 mile of shoreline is within the city of Fort Pierce, and it's pretty heavily developed, a lot of people living there. But outside of that, we've got 21 miles of beaches that are in unincorporated St. Lucie County. And we are prime habitat for 3 sea turtle species to nest here. One of them is the green sea turtle, then the next one is the loggerhead, and then our massive sea turtle, which is the leatherback, which we only have a few of those nesting, but it's quite a treat when they're out there. So let me introduce you, Joe. Thank you for coming on our show. I try to interact with you throughout the year during sea turtle nesting season. Even when we're not in sea turtle nesting season, we're getting ready for the next one. So we always have something going on, don't we?
Oh yeah, we definitely do. Yeah.
And we have a debrief at the end of the season just to kind of figure out what happened last time and how we might be able to do things better for next year. So throughout the year, we're doing things. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do with Ecological Associates. Who are Ecological Associates?
My name is Joe Scarola. I'm one of the biologists and sea turtle lighting specialists for Ecological Associates. We've been in business around 25 years, and we do a lot of environmental resource work with wetlands, water quality, and endangered species. So my role with the company is more on the sea turtle side, so I do a lot of the sea turtle permit compliance projects and all the artificial lighting surveys here in Hutchinson Island.
So you have a lot of work to do.
I definitely do.
21 miles of beaches, but then you also work in Indian River and a little bit in Martin County also, don't you?
That's correct, yep.
So good. We've got a professional that's spread across the whole Treasure Coast.
Place, yes.
Yeah, so that's good. So since we're on the school board's TV station, tell me a little bit about your academic background. How does somebody become a sea turtle expert, and particularly a sea turtle lighting expert?
So I graduated from UCLA with a degree in biology. Had all the pre-med stuff, but I always had that passion for turtles. And kind of right out of college, I applied for all these jobs, and I knew I wanted to work with sea turtles. I ended up getting a job in Cape Verde, Africa, with a group called SOS Tartarugas, and we were out there actually helping to stop illegal poaching of loggerhead sea turtles. So that's kind of where I got my start in sea turtles, and from there I've just kind of been all around. It's taken me to Barbados to work with hawksbills, to Australia working with the flatbacks, Texas. I've worked with the Kemp's Ridley, and then here in Florida for the past 7 years, I've got to work with the loggerheads, the leatherbacks, and the greens, which has been a dream. And I've been at Ecological Associates now about 7 years, and we've been working together with the St. Lucie County working group for about 4 years or so.
Yeah. You know, we've always worked, St. Lucie County and the University of Florida has for 25 or 26 years worked with Ecological Associates because you guys are able to do some of the work that we aren't able to do. So it's very helpful to have you as a resource for us. And the job of sea turtle lighting is to help people comply with it, but we'll talk a little bit about why lighting is an issue. What are the dates for sea turtle nesting season in St. Lucie County?
So in St. Lucie County, the official dates of nesting season is March 1st through November 15th. That's when the majority of the nesting is happening. That's not to say all the nesting is happening during those periods. We do get the occasional leatherback that likes to come a little early in February, and we will see that. And we did last year have a nest incubate all the way until January. So.
Oh wow! So So it can happen the majority of the time during the summertime, but it can happen pretty much any time throughout the year then.
Exactly.
I kind of remember that one instance that you were talking about with that leatherback that came ashore over by the jetty in February. And the thing about leatherbacks is they are massive, massive animals. They're like 1,500 pounds, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
So like the size of a car.
Yeah, and they can eat their entire body weight in jellyfish every day. So
Oh, that's amazing.
that is, you go swimming in the water, you can thank the leatherback for not allowing you to get stung by those jellyfish.
You know, every once in a while, I do outreach and interact with citizens that say, why should I care? You know, why should I care about sea turtles? Why should I care about lighting? It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while we have that happen. And the fallback is, well, these huge leatherback sea turtles are eating their body's weight in jellyfish that could sting you.
Exactly.
And if not you, your kids or grandkids. So they're the good guys out there, and they're also endangered.
Exactly.
So tell us about those three endangered, the three species that we have.
So we have the loggerhead. It's the smallest of the three. It has a massive, massive head. Has about 1,000 pounds of biting pressure in those jaws. And it's actually using those to crush those hard-shelled animals like your blue crabs, conch shells, all those type of horseshoe crabs is his favorite food too. So it has those massive jaws, loves preying on all those hard-shelled animals. Next we have the green turtle in size order. It's a little bit bigger than the loggerhead. That turtle was actually named for not the exterior color of the turtle, but actually the interior of the color. And it eats so much seagrass that it actually stains the body fat tissues inside the turtle. So that's where it gets its name actually. And the leatherback, we've already talked a little bit about them. They are the rarest one in St. Lucie County, and they get to be about 6 feet long, 1,000, 1,500 pounds, and
Wow.
massive, massive turtles. They are the deepest diving ones, and they feed exclusively on jellyfish.
So they're also the ones that have skin on their backs. That's why they call them leatherbacks. So it's a fairly unique thing. Sometimes people ask me, well, what's the difference between a sea turtle and a freshwater turtle? And one of the big differences obviously is size.
Oh, yes.
And then also our sea turtles, they can't poke their heads into their shells, can they?
Exactly. So their body is more, hydrodynamic, so they can get through the water. So they've lost the ability to actually pull all those limbs inside.
Wow. It's amazing how adaptations can occur.
Oh,
isn't
yes.
it? Yeah. So you talked a little bit about the Sea Turtle Working Group. So what does that working group do? When I'm on that working group, Monica Graziano, we've got code compliance. What is the function of the working group, and what are we doing throughout the year?
So the function of the group is kind of educate the public about sea turtle issues, more specifically lighting. So we perform the lighting survey 2 times a year. We have an initial survey that we go out there and we document all lights using a sub-meter GPS attached with a laser rangefinder, and we take photographs of each light.
And that's done at night?
That's all done at night. Yep. All this is happening. The turtles nest at night. The hatchlings, hatch at night, and we do these lighting surveys at night to see what's going on there that will actually affect sea turtles nesting and hatching.
So the goal is to help the residents and visitors come into compliance with the lighting codes. So in order to do that, we need to find out where the problems are. And that's what your job is, to go out there, do the surveys early in the nesting season, sometimes even before, and then figure out where those lighting problems are, and then conduct an educational campaign to go ahead and let the folks know how to come into compliance. And of course, if necessary, there are some teeth behind that with the Code Compliance Board. And they're also seated at the table with us. But education is always the first goal. And since we've been doing this since 1992, 93, somewhere in that range, we've never had any fines assessed. And including in 2018, there weren't any fines assessed last year either. So I would say that our job, it's been hard, especially you out at night, dealing with the elements and who knows what's going on at the beach at night, and really working with residents. And of course, the residents, none of this would be possible without the residents' involvement and help. So why do we even need these codes? Why is lighting such a big issue?
So lighting is a huge issue for turtles. It's a very complex process, but basically, hatchlings find their way to the ocean by going towards the brightest horizon, which normally is the moon and the stars reflecting on the ocean. So when we have a whole bunch of artificial light sources, they're going to start to go into the dunes, into the roads, and that's where they're going to end up being, run over by cars or being taken by predators. The longer that they're on the beach, the more likely they're going to have, interaction with the predator. So if they're going the wrong way, they're out there on the beach, and
things eat them.
Exactly.
They can see them and eat them. So, and then it's the females that are the ones that come up.
Exactly.
Yeah. The males stay out in the ocean.
Oh yeah, the males never come ashore unless they're attached to a female. For the most part.
Yeah.
Actually, very bright lights can actually deter nesting females from coming up. So you're going to have them try to go to darker sections of the beach where they normally would come up to nest.
I saw a study, Eric Martin, who retired from Ecological Associates, your predecessor.
Oh yes.
My friend. And I think he was involved with a survey, a study that showed down in Fort Lauderdale, with the high rises right on the ocean, those high rises actually block some of the light from the city glow in the city of Fort Lauderdale. And they showed that the sea turtles were more likely to lay nests in those shade, the silhouettes from the hotels than where the light was peeking through.
Exactly.
Wow,
Yep.
That's really something, isn't it? Very sensitive.
Oh yes.
But the hatchlings are also, lighting is an issue for the hatchlings.
Oh yes.
So if they come out of the nest, the instinct is to orient towards the brightest moonlit horizon. If they go the wrong way, they're burning up all their energy, aren't they?
Exactly, and they're going to need that energy to swim out into the Sargasso Sea, save all those energy reserves to get all the way out there, and then, kind of make their way.
Yeah. I had one of our volunteers, the master naturalist volunteers, take a picture of a seagull with a baby sea turtle in its mouth. And they were like, oh, it's so, very distraught. But I have to tell them, it's nature.
It is.
There's a difference between predators like a seagull eating, a baby sea turtle hatchling. We don't like it when it happens, but it happens. Rather than something like a raccoon or a dog that would be going after trash on the beach.
Exactly.
So,
and that's one of the other issues that we're finding in our oceans is all the plastic pollution, the trash on the beaches. A lot of that's ending up in the ocean, and not only sea turtles are eating this, other marine organisms out there in the ocean. And the thing with sea turtles is they have a whole bunch of downward pointing spikes in their throat called an esophageal papillae. So once that garbage goes down, they can't really regurgitate it. So they're going to go in there and suffocate.
So it's a one-way track.
Exactly.
That's interesting. A lot of the reptiles, it's a one-way track. You look at snakes and the teeth are bent backwards.
Oh yes.
So there's a similar adaptation with sea turtles. So, all right, so how serious has the problem been with improper lighting in St. Lucie County compared to the number of people who actually live along the coast? Is it a serious problem?
It can be a serious problem, but here in St. Lucie County, they take it very seriously. So that's why we're out there doing those lighting surveys, and we're able to actually correct these issues before they become a problem. And in fact, St. Lucie County has one of the lowest disorientation rates in the entire state because of the work that the St. Lucie County Sea Turtle Beaches Working Group does.
Wow, that's something. And everybody loves sea turtles. And if people haven't had a chance to actually interact with sea turtles, they can get involved with FP&L does tours at night through their energy encounter, and you can look that up online. And then if they want to see them during the daytime, go down to the Loggerhead Museum down on Juno Beach, and they rehabilitate the injured sea turtles down there. So there are opportunities for people to see them, which is why we don't necessarily want people going out on the beaches with flashlights at night. And that's been an issue, hasn't it?
Oh yes. If you're out on the beaches, if you have to use any light, use it sparingly, and it should be in a long wavelength bulb above 560 nanometers, which is those amber red color lights, and use it only sparingly.
So the message maybe the new message that we have to tweak is subdue your lighting, block your lighting, was it keep it short, keep it low, keep it long wavelengths, but maybe also, flashlights are, not something we want to have out there either.
Exactly. And those long wavelength lights are not invisible to sea turtles. They can still see those light wavelengths. They're just less disruptive.
Yeah. So do you think that there's been an increased awareness over the last, over your time?
I definitely think so. We've put signs out on the beaches. We've sent out flyers. They've posted notices in all the condos. We've had numerous public outreach events at some of these timeshare units. These guests that come in for one week at a time. And I think that's kind of the biggest issue, is keeping up with a lot of these tourists and guests that are coming to St. Lucie County to vacation. They're not always aware. So trying to keep on top of that and educating the out-of-towners about sea turtles and our beaches.
Oh, it's a big job, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
We have a lot of tourists here.
Yes.
So overall, you would say that the awareness has been increased then.
Definitely. I think at least for the residents, at least, I think everyone's aware that, that lives here.
Yeah.
For the most part.
And like maybe we could solicit the assistance of like the timeshare owners and others to help, keep those one-time visitors or, just tourists, help them comply with the whole issue of sea turtle lighting.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So other than lighting, what are some of the other threats that sea turtles face?
So obviously out there you have your natural predators, birds, crabs, anything with a mouth big enough in the ocean is going to go after those hatchlings. Some other threats would be pollution, obviously, all those plastics, trash on the beaches, they'll ingest those plastics. And I just read a study from the University of Queensland that almost half of all the world's sea turtle population has ingested plastic at one time in their life. So pretty bad statistic right there.
Well, that's interesting. My colleague Maya McGuire with the University of Florida, she's actually with St. John's County Cooperative Extension up in St. Augustine. She was one of the people, she had a grant to help raise awareness of the marine microplastics. And some of the volunteers that I work with, the Florida Master Naturalists, were measuring some water samples in the Indian River Lagoon, and literally every sample that they pulled in had microplastics in it.
Wow.
And what most people don't realize is that the plastic just doesn't disappear. It gets smaller and smaller. The wave action just kind of grinds it up until it becomes microscopic, but it's still there. And it comes from unusual places too. When you wash synthetic clothing, polyester clothes in a washing machine, there's no filter cleaning that plastic out of there. Trash, people are picking on straws, the plastic straws, that's part of it, but plastic bags. Mm-hmm. Pretty much any plastic that's in the environment has the ability to work its way into the water. And unfortunately, sea turtles are, coming in contact with this stuff. I saw a video one time, it's probably on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure people can find it, where there was, I believe, a loggerhead sea turtle. It's probably a leatherback because they're eating jellyfish that is, it looks like it's kind of like a plastic bag, but their cloaca actually got jammed up by the bag.
Yes.
And that's the place where the eggs come out. So there was a biologist in the video that just saw the bag, saw that there was a sea turtle in distress, and then saw the bag hanging, pulled the bag out, 150 sea turtle eggs just kind of like popped out of her. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
So plastics are an issue. What about dogs on the beach?
They can definitely be an issue, especially ones off leash.
Yeah.
They can dig into nests, cause disturbances to hatchlings, many other things as well.
Well, we have one dog-approved beach in St. Lucie County, and that's Walton Rocks. And the nice thing about Walton Rocks is they even have like the little dog dropping bag. So if you're walking your dog at the dog-approved beach, St. Lucie County just asks that people please keep their dogs on leashes and also clean up after the dogs. And then I've actually seen where people have used the bags, picked up the dog droppings, and then left the bag on the beach. And I've seen that on more than one occasion. And
that's more plastic pollution in the water.
Yeah. And it really doesn't take that much more effort. There's plenty of trash cans around that people can throw that away. And then also sometimes dogs can dig. Oh, yeah. So, having the dogs on the leashes and then making sure they're not digging up the sea turtle nests, that's pretty important.
That's another issue that we have on the beaches is humans digging holes. And I can't tell you the number of times that we've been on the beach in the morning and we find little hatchlings that are stuck inside a hole that someone digs. So, it's really important that, you're out there, leave the beach the way it is. Leave it natural. Smooth out your sandcastles, fill in those holes, because those are really big obstacles to tiny little hatchlings that are trying to make their way to the ocean. And every little extra amount of time that hatchling is on the sand is the increased chance of it being taken by a predator.
So I guess the message would be leave only your footprints.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was staying at a hotel down in Stewart quite a while ago, and they had left their beach furniture out. And when I got up and the next morning, I saw that a turtle got out of the water and went all the way around the furniture that was left out, but it could have easily been entrapped in it.
Oh yes, we've had numerous occasions where a lawn chair or something has been left on the beach. A turtle has gone up to it, and it got its flipper stuck in between the railings or whatever on the chair, and we had to go in there and take it out. If that turtle is on the beach long enough, it can dehydrate, and if it's long enough, it could die.
Wow. That brings to mind 4th of July. And, when we have holidays, people spend a lot of time on the beach. But I saw photographs from last year's, I think I've seen them a couple of years, where people are setting up tents and some pretty large obstacles for sea turtles. And they're doing it for several days around the 4th of July holiday. So the whole idea is to remind people that there could be a sea turtle nest, like literally right underneath where they're working, and to put it out the day of the event and then take it back, right?
Exactly. And another issue is we don't mark every single nest on the beach. In St. Lucie County, we're marking every 24th nest. So that leaves 23 other nests on the beach that you have no clue that they're under the sand. So you may see a nest in the area, but there's 23 others in that area that you have no idea about.
So it's pretty sure, people walking on the beach, more than likely, if they're just walking along the beach, there's going to be a sea turtle nest underneath their feet at some point.
Oh, definitely. Every year we have anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 nests on Hutchinson Island.
Oh, that's quite a number.
Oh, yes.
And that's unusually high for Florida, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're fortunate that we have a long coastline with a lot of natural space left, a lot of dark natural space left. But that's turned out to the benefit for sea turtles, I think.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important that we, protect the environment that these turtles are nesting in, because it is one of the most important nesting grounds for turtles in Florida.
Yeah. So climate variability and change is an issue, and we know hurricanes can, weather patterns can be altered. So is there a major concern about the impact of climate change on sea turtles?
There is. So sex is determined by temperature in sea turtles, and with these rising temperatures, we're seeing a female bias in all the nests that are hatching here on the island. So what that means is the warmer temperatures on the beaches produce females, the cooler temperatures produce males. So if those temperatures are above the pivotal temperature, which is around 85 degrees, then we're only going to be producing females on our beaches. And with no males to reproduce with these females, that could cause the end of the population.
So basically, you're narrowing the genetic pool down.
Exactly.
Right. So if you only have, a few males that are left and a lot of females, that's just narrowing down that genetic mix. And genes are the cause of survival. Variability of genes are one of the survival adaptations that wildlife have.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so important.
But turtles have been around over 100 million years, and they've found a way to adapt through different climate changes in the past. Whether this one is accelerating at a faster rate than their ability to adapt, only time will tell. But we may start to see some, turtles nesting earlier or later in the season to kind of combat the effects of climate change. They've also, in some other areas of the world, they've started watering and actually shading nests to actually get those nests to produce more males.
Interesting. That temperature that you were talking about is the exact flip opposite for alligators. Mm-hmm. So the warmer the nest gets, the more males they get out of the nest. So it's kind of interesting how, this kind of plays out species by species, in the reptile world. It's interesting how that works out. And also with climate variability and change, we have an issue of possibly more hurricanes occurring, which of course will wipe out the beaches and the nests that are on those beaches. But then there's also an issue with the exoskeletons of crabs and things. So let's say you're a loggerhead sea turtle And the only thing you're out there eating, the majority of what they're eating, are crabs and crustaceans down there. You know, you said that they have that head that has all that bite force. Well, what if the crabs are no longer able to use the calcium in the ocean to create an exoskeleton to survive? So, you know, the food sources could be altered. And then we also have an issue of potentially the land being more conducive to predator reptiles like tegus. And I know here in St. Lucie County, I haven't heard, maybe you can correct me, I haven't heard anything about tegu lizards and monitor-like lizards digging up nests, but I'm assuming it's happening other places.
Yeah, we've had no documented cases so far, as long as I've been here, at least.
We had coyote problems.
Just coyotes, raccoons, some armadillos actually will get into nests.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, so I guess, you know, it's one of those issues. Climate variability and change is one of those things that we just kind of have to keep in mind and continue monitoring over time.
And along those lines, too, we have sea level rise. And as the sea level rises, you have less beach for turtles to nest on, and that could be another issue down the road as well.
Wow. So it sounds like our sea turtle friends have a lot of things to kind of have to overcome.
Yes.
What can people do to help sea turtles?
Basically, leave the beaches as they were. You know, remove that beach furniture at night, fill in those holes, knock down those sandcastles. You know, shield all your artificial lighting. You can use long wavelength bulbs as long as they're completely shielded. So that actually helps a lot with disorientations out on the beaches.
And then pick up trash.
Pick up trash as well, yep.
Yeah. You know, there's that rack line, and people might not be familiar with that term, but the rack line is where the sargassum kind of ends up being left on the shore. And when you look in that rack line, it's the high mean tide mark, I think is the official term definition. But if you look in that, you might find monofilament fishing line in there. You're gonna find balloons and strings and things like that. So if you're out there with a plastic trash bag, you know, fill all that stuff up and dispose of it properly. So do you have, we've got a little bit of more time, do you have a success story?
Yeah, so this is kind of a lighting success story where at one of the condos 2 to 3 years ago, we had a really bad issue with lighting. We noticed that some tracks came up the beach but didn't go to the water. So we went back, we found the turtle in the back of the dunes. A bunch of residents kind of helped us out. We got that turtle back in the water, and that turtle actually came back and nested a few more times. And that led to some more you know, lighting work being done at that condo.
I think I saw that picture. Didn't you send me that picture?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was in Fort Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I would say that would be a good success story because the sea turtle could have fallen into a pool, and then you would have had a several 100-pound sea turtle to haul out of a pool. But you were able to move it back to the beaches and help it survive.
And that turtle was, you know,
Good.
200-300 pounds, and with the, you know, the help of all the residents there, we were able to get it back in the water.
Well, Joe, we've come to the end of our time on this show. I'm sure we can spend a lot more time talking about sea turtles. Between the two of us, we're both very enthusiastic about the whole issue. So I wanted to thank you for being on with us. We value, the whole Sea Turtle Working Group values your input and the work that your colleagues, Nikki and the others, Ryan, that Ecological Associates conducted. So here at the University of Florida, we're involved in many different issues, from sea turtles to 4-H kids. If you have questions, it's 462-1660. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.